Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session on handling employment investigations, key data protection issues. So before we get started, just an idea of timings. What I'm going to be looking at, first of all, is the legal framework. So what data protection legislation really is coming into play when handling employee investigations. And then we're going to look at some specific scenarios where these legal requirements play out in a real life context. And then finally, we'll finish with some practical guidance. And I've also highlighted a couple of supporting materials that I think will be useful for you to have. So, what are the aims of today's course? Well, first of all, as I mentioned, the statutory data protection framework, it's to get an understanding of that as it applies to employment investigations. Secondly, to provide you with some practical guidance on how you can comply with that framework and other regulatory guidance that may be applicable. And then thirdly, and importantly, is really the sort of trickier issues that can arise when you're conducting employment investigations, how to see your way through those. So, turning now to the legal framework. The statutory framework we're looking at when we're talking about data protection issues in the context of employment investigations are really two pieces of legislation. The UK General Data Protection Regulation, so the UK's version of the EU's General Data Protection Regulation, and the Data Protection Act 2018. And obviously, those two sit together. So the Data Protection Act, for example, provides further details about legal bases and requirements when processing, where the framework for those is in the GDPR itself. And I just want to flag before we sort of dig deeper, or a reminder really, that both terms processing and personal data are defined broadly in the legislation. So processing in particular is any act in relation to personal data, and even not doing anything, just keeping it, retaining it. So you can see how that's going to apply when we're looking at employment investigations.